What's up,
What's
dude?
up, man?
Dude,
Good brother. How you doing?
I missed you last week, man. It as much as good as you looked in your caricature, dude, you look so much better right now, man. Welcome back.
I think I think he's got better hair than I do.
Yeah, well, that's our thing to say, man. You guys. I feel like when the first time I saw you when we were doing this after not seeing you for a couple years, I felt that was the first thing I saw. I was like, dude, Sash, your hair and your beard game is freaking on point, my dude. Um,
Thank you. I
that's a hard thing to
appreciate
say,
that.
man. How you doing, man?
I bet. Good brother. How are you?
Good, man. How's the Maven course going? You're two weeks into this
Yeah.
new one, right? The new cohort, as you call it.
Yes, new cohort, second cohort, 2 weeks in. It's a great mix of people, all sorts of people, actually. We've got lawyers, biotech engineers, a risk officer, all non-technical folks building with Claude. And we've got people who are running Claude Code and VS Code and building
Yeah,
stuff, which is always fun to see.
yeah. One of these days, I'm going to try building Claude inside VS Code. I use VS Code to do all my Markdown files. I use it to do like
Yeah,
Excalibur, but I haven't really played around with it in the terminal. Anyway, that's a future thing. So,
I hear you. But
yeah,
we're here talking about Excalibur. Today we're going to talk about MCPs, connectors, and all that jazz, how your agents work
yeah,
with it,
man.
so on and so forth.
You down with MCP? Yeah, you know me. Isn't that how that Naughty by Nature song went back in the
Yeah,
90s, right?
I think it did.
Something
I
similar.
think it did.
Something similar.
Exactly. Exactly how it went. But yeah, MCPs have been a great unlock. And I think Claude's own kind of connector marketplace has grown a lot. So I get a lot of use out of external connectors and MCPs. What about you?
No, I love it, man. It's so what I'm really intrigued at is kind of seeing, and I'll switch over to your screen here, is kind of seeing what you talk about, because I use MCPs, but I go back and forth, man, between like, do I want to use MCPs? Do I want to build like a skill and kind of hit at it
Yeah.
through the API? Like, and so I sort of go back and forth. I don't know which one I really like love more. So I want to hear what you have to offer and kind of your thoughts around like both proposals there, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's certain situations that I just use APIs if I can grab an API key and
Yeah.
give it to Claude Code. But just the default connectors and finding some niche MCPs has been fun. But it all comes down to kind of stability. So
Stability. Yep.
uh, yeah, and to sort of give you an idea, MCP is Model Context Protocol, and it was introduced by Anthropic in November of 2024. So it's been over a year and a half. It's been used pretty widely by everybody now. And the moment Anthropic released that, I remember early Q1 2025, it was all over the internet. All SaaS platforms were building MCP servers.
Right.
And what MCP is basically protocol for you to connect your AI and any LLM or any agent to data, to software, to basically external platforms. And that protocol is the shared language which enables LLMs to talk to any external system, to grab data, to push data, and just to interact with different kind of apps. And that becomes
Yep.
super useful when you want to use tools.
It's a standardization,
Um,
right? Like I
it's
keep
yeah,
referring to MCP as the API for agents.
basically it
No.
is, and that
Thanks for
it allows
validating
for
that. I'm like,
totally it
is
is.
that right? But that's how I kind of call it. So now that you've heard it from me and
Yeah,
Sash, like it's facts.
it is. That is facts. You heard it on HITL. It is fact. So one of the things it does, very cool, is it allows for tool discovery. The way MCP kind of works is, let's say you've connected. Let me go over here. So there's multiple ways to add connectors and MCPs,
Yep.
right? So the easiest way is to go into connectors available in Claude. ChatGPT has it as well. And you can just browse connectors in their own marketplace from Anthropic, from different partners. This marketplace has grown significantly, like exponentially over the next, in the past year or so. Anyone you add, of course, if it's a platform that you need an account for, it kind of assumes that you will
Right.
have some kind of a subscription to it. And that's one way of kind of adding it. And if you see here, all of these are my connectors added through the Claude marketplace. And these are common apps we all use, right? Gmail, Calendar, G Drive. I love Granola. And
Dude, you
basically what's
convinced you
going on,
convinced me to get granola. I'm excited
I
about
just
this
did,
now.
didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
Yeah. And the way the connectors work is they're using MCP protocol in the backend. And when I click on any of these, so let's say that we look at Granola, each connector comes with a set of tools. Set of tools means actions that your LLM can take against that app. For example, in Granola, it's got get account info, get meeting transfer, get meetings, list meeting folders, basically commands that you allow your LLM has permissions to run against that app platform. And you can get pretty granular with it, which means you can allow certain commands, like you see, get meeting transcript, get meetings is always allow. So it's not going to prompt me if when it tries to run that command. The others are added with needs approval, which means if it needs to get account info, if I, in certain situation I ask it for it, I'm going to have to approve it. So that's the granularity that I think MCP allows for. And it also takes the complexity out of trying to connect your LLM to an external system, which is kind
So
of where
these
APIs come in.
no, yeah, for sure. So these approvals here, so I'll just make sure I'm hearing it right. So this is you could say like, hey, I want to give you access, Claude, to Granola, right? So that when I am interacting with it and it can implicitly know that I want to get these meetings, that I can go call these commands. Like the approval
Yep,
is you're saying like, hey, I don't want you to be able to get my account info without me having to like click yes every single time you go to do it, right?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And with certain specific apps, like if you look at Gmail, Gmail has read-only tools as well as write-delete tools. Gmail will write. I think you can write an email and drop it into drafts, but it can never
correct.
send it.
Correct.
So
There's just
that's
I've learned
that.
that. We've
Yeah,
talked about like the challenge of the Google auth, right? Like there's a modify, I think like an email.modify scope that is different from an
yeah,
email.send scope, right? For that reason.
yeah,
Yep.
totally. And actually, here's I think the difference between using a straight API versus an MCP or a connector that is working over MCP is straight API, you have to go in and granularly define the scope of permissions you want to give it. And with MCPs, especially if you enable one from the marketplace of connectors, a lot of this is configured with
They've already
safe
done that
default.
logic. Yep.
Yeah, they've done that logic, and it's generally set up in a way that to protect against data loss. So you don't have to go through all that configuration stuff. Um, and
Good point.
the yeah, and I think the other way, and if you look at, let me go back to this diagram. So the model can connect to all of these apps through the MCP protocol. And once it's connected to the apps, the protocol actually defines what it can do within the app. And that's where we're talking about the permission layer. Multiple ways to do this. You can connect it through connectors like we have just saw. You can also set up custom MCPs.
Right.
There's a bunch of Git repos available for custom MCPs,
A ton, man.
and
And some of
a
them are even
ton.
like
And
better. Like they're like I use a Google MCP for like my Hermes agent that I talked a couple weeks ago, right? Use a Google MCP for that. And like it's not even the official Google one. It's
yeah,
there's a
and
repo with like a couple $100,000 couple hundred thousand stars. It does more things
stars.
than the Google one. That was a kind of a wake up call to me, right? Of not having to wait on vendors to create MCPs.
Exactly. And I think that's what happened over the past year when vendors have to spend money and time to kind of build these MCPs, and communities just built a bunch of MCP servers, figured out how
Yeah.
to connect. This is an example. If you see here now, if I go into Cloud Code and just run /MCP, shows me everything's connected. Three categories. Anything you see under Claude.ai is connected through the connecting marketplace of Claude. And then I have custom MCPs defined, which is user MCPs. These were installed locally. And one of them is fail. This is the stability issue with these custom MCPs, which are not vendor managed. You might run into issues like that. This is my favorite one, N8N. And it's not an official N8N MCP. This is a Git repo with 21,000 stars. And with this, Claude can connect to my N8N workspace and build workflows and automations for me. So I use that a ton. I don't need to learn
Right.
N8N. I don't need to learn what's inside N8N. I just asked Claude to do it. So, and I think you asked, when would I choose MCP over like an API?
Or just creating a custom skill yourself, right?
Yeah. If there's an MCP available, I'd choose that first, because if it's a marketplace MCP, it's probably stable and can
Yep.
test it out. If it's not, then I use an API. For example, a few things I use API. For Exosearch, I use APIs. And Exosearch is search for agents. It's actually very useful for semantic search. So
You've
I
talked
use an
about
API for
you've
this.
talked about Excel a lot to me, and it's still on my list to play around with.
Yeah.
Just the idea of like a semantic search that's, like you said,
Yep.
set up for agents. You and I have talked about that a lot, of like just the future. I think we called out Salesforce in a positive light for creating like a headless CRM.
Headless CRM.
And
Yeah.
this direction that this is going, like there is no doubt in my mind that, and what, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the time frame is, like it's just going to be the internet. There's going to be almost like two internets, right? Like an agents
Yeah.
interacting with agents internet, that like UI is dead, and then like where do humans go to get information themselves? And so that's
Absolutely.
a whole conversation on its own.
And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. A lot of our internet is built for humans, right? It's got auth gates. You have to
Correct.
the captchas prevent bots from getting in. And now I see a lot of new companies that are building SaaS, any kind of SaaS. They're building APIs so agents can get to it.
Right.
That's the way to run it. And when I am running anything, if I go to look at a tool that might be useful for whatever I'm trying to do, my first thing is, do you have an API? Because I don't want to deal with it. I just want to give
Yeah.
Claude access
Correct.
to it so he can figure it out.
I want like
So
payments is going to be an interesting thing there, right? Like I think we're getting off topic a bit, but like how, because I know like a lot of times, even I've done some research about, I have an agent that automates like looking up award flights using miles on Virgin Atlantic, which is
yeah,
a flight that I use to fly Delta here in the US. And I wanted to pay for these flights. And that was a tricky thing,
yeah,
because like
yeah,
Playwright, some of your browser automation tools are like, no, man, like we're not that dumb. Like we're not going to let you use an agent to automate this yet, right? We talked about
exactly.
this. Yes.
Yeah,
Duffel.
it's this. This is kind of another interesting service. This is a travel booking API, which a lot of kind of travel booking platforms use, and it's pay per use. So you can just grab this API key, give it to Claude Code,
There you go.
and it can look up travel for you. It can compare airlines, and I think hotels as well. So a lot of platforms like this are coming up with just API layers where you can connect your
Yeah.
agent in and build apps too. Like if you got a personal agent, the OpenClaw or something, and you give it this API, you never have to hit Kayak or any kind of
And you know
travel
what?
website.
You know what I just found out? Duffel has an MCP. Boom.
Oh, there we go.
Boom.
Fantastic. So it's happening. Everybody's building MCPs
Yeah.
because the internet is heading towards agents just accessing
Without
data
without
platforms
question. Without question.
without question. Yeah.
I'll tell you what steered me away from MCP. And so, most of my use has been through Claude Code, right? And through my subscription, where like I don't have I don't have the regard of token count that I would if I were
Right.
using an pay-go model. When I was shifting to Hermes, when I was first evaluating Hermes, when I was using a
Yeah.
pay-go model, what I learned was that when I had MCPs installed, they were essentially auto loading all of these extra tokens into my context window.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's what I was gonna ask here is, I don't think I've checked in
Yeah.
Claude if MCPs auto load all of
Yeah.
that.
Yep, it does. That is a big problem. When I started with Claude Code, I just connected dozens and dozens of
Right.
MCPs.
Right.
Whatever fun of stuff I found, I'm like, oh,
Right.
I might use this. And then the tool definition. So, for example, when you go back into one of the MCPs here, right? So if I go into connectors, um, let me go connectors, where you saw all these tools we have out here. The definitions for each single tool is auto loaded into your context. It's always there for your agent to know what access it has. If you install a bunch of MCPs, you're gonna it's gonna suck up a lot of your context window, especially for something like N8N or Make, which is an automation platform. Like, look at this.
Yeah.
This is like tons and tons of tools, which is constantly loaded. into my MCP. So that's something to be aware of. That's where having an API, you can customize it. But of course, using an API, you have to be responsible for defining the scope, permissions. It can get a little overwhelming if you're not very technical. So be
It makes
mindful of MCP
it
usage.
makes me wonder there, right? Like I know, like Azure has like an API management service,
Yeah.
right? So that for that reason, like, APIs can come in, we can route them accordingly. Like, I wonder if there's something out there for like this. Like, because in my head, as we're doing this, I'm like, well, is there like an MCP proxy almost that we can interact and load into our Claude so that when we call it, it has logic to then route that to a different MCP to just reduce the amount of
Yeah.
tokens in context, right? Like, there might not be that implicit way to call them. Like, you might have to explicitly interact with that MCP, right? Versus just
Yeah.
say, hey, so I don't know, right? That's just kind of
Yeah.
a
Like an
thought
open
around that.
router for
Yeah,
MCP.
correct,
That would be cool. I think the auth part might be problem because it kind of assumes that you have permission to use this tool
correct,
or you have got some kind of
correct,
an account or subscription. But that would be cool because now the other thing is, how does Claude decide? So, for example, I've got Perplexity loaded as an API and I've got Excel loaded as an API as well. How does Claude decide what to use when you're searching? So, you also have to define those rules to say, okay, use this for this. And
correct.
if this doesn't work for the job we're trying to do, then use Excel. That's my
Right.
kind of escalation rules that I've written.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I think connectors, MCPs, APIs all make Claude more usable, or ChatGPT, whatever you're using. We're
Yeah.
Claude fans over here.
Yeah. 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 Good stuff,
Yeah.
man. Um,
Awesome, dude.
dude, this is awesome. So, whew, this time always goes by so fast, man. One of
I
these
know.
days
It's
we're just gonna have like a 3 hour thing and just talk nonstop,
yeah.
and we'll see. But so for next week, big thing for us, man.
Tell us,
We have
guys.
our first ever guest speaker
All
coming on.
right. Yes.
Coming
Yes.
on. His name's Rene Charbonneau. He's a coworker of mine at iLink. He is, that like in The Wolf of Wall Street, where they're like sitting at the table being like, one of us, one of us. Like Rene and I talked
Yes.
for the first time for like 5 minutes, and I was like, oh, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Fantastic. Yes.
super brilliant mind. He and I talk a lot at work. He's gonna talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, near and dear to your heart. We talked about it in our pre-show, and it's essentially like the importance of like constantly reevaluating your environment,
Awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
as anyone who has spent some time building any kind of like AI project or Life OS, that shit can get messy and it can get
It does.
clunky and like it can forget and it can hallucinate and it can just
Yeah.
like why are you so bad all of a sudden? And then it's the like, wait, is
Yep.
it me? Is it my system? And so Renee is going to talk about how he has done that with his to kind of improve and help iterate the health of his AI projects. And I think it's useful for whatever tool that you use, whatever platform you're building on.
Yeah.
Pretty important.
Fantastic. I'm
So
excited
excited,
about
man.
that because we were just talking about it
I
and
know.
how the system performance kind of drifts. Claude starts to seem dumber, but maybe it's the system, maybe it's not the model. So
It's definitely not the users. That much I know for sure. So
it's never
always a
us.
pleasure, man. Yeah, so excited. So like hopefully, right? We love other people to come on. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to talk
Yeah.
on this show, well,
Yeah. Catch
let
us
us
on
know.
LinkedIn. Let us know.
The whole thing, just two dudes talking AI. If you like talking AI, we want to talk to you.
Yeah. Awesome,
Cool.
man.
Have a good weekend, dude. Always a
Absolutely.
pleasure.
You too. You too. All right, brother.
See you next time. Okay.